And in the spirit of the Piasnesta Rebbe, the Warsaw Ghetto Rebbe, we're going to Rabbi Shapira. We're going to do an exercise, and it's an exercise of our imagination. We're talking a lot about accessing and using different talents and skill sets to maximize our connection to Hashem, and one of them is the imagination. So I'm going to close my eyes. You're welcome to close your eyes. It may be weird for you in the Beit Midrash. It may be strange. We're going to go on a journey. And the journey starts with, let's say we're one of the grandchildren of our forefather Yaakov Avinu, and we're going down to Egypt, and we're 70. It says 70 nefesh, which is the singular of soul, because we're a united soul. And we come down to Mitzrayim, which is Egypt, which is related to the word for, you say when a woman gives birth, it's siyarim. So Mitzrayim with sir leida, which are contractions, because there's going to be a birth there, the birth of a nation, of a holy nation. So from the 70 souls, which is really one soul, of the offspring of Jacob, the Bnei Israel, because Jacob is also Israel, comes forth a holy nation and leaves Egypt, because there's one goal. The whole thing of Egypt was a purifying process. And we're supposed to leave Egypt, and we're leaving Egypt. We're there. And we're going to Har Sinai. And we come to Har Sinai, and we camp there as one man with one body. That's what it says in the Torah. We're united in our heart. We're one man with one heart, One man with one heart. We're united, completely united. And that unification allows us to rise to the level of receiving the Torah. The Torah that was created before the world. It says Hashem looked into the Torah to create our world. And we received our Torah, received 2 crowns, and we leave with the one goal, with taking the Torah to this land, the land of Israel. And here we are in Jerusalem. Now let's flash forward to Poland, just before World War II. There's a Talmid Hacham Atzum, Gadol. He's a wise Torah student, a rabbi, and his learning partner has connections with the government, the Polish government. The gates are closing. The gates are almost totally closed. But because of this connection, because of this Torah learning, this wise Torah student, this rabbi, is able to get an exit visa for his daughter. And his daughter is part of the movement for coming to the land of Israel, at the time called Palestine, which was the British protectorate at the time. And they came here, and she came here and she married, and she had a son, and the son was a lover of the land, of the promised land, the holy land where our forefathers came to when they left Egypt and they got the Torah. And this is where this child grew to love the land, and inside of his heart burned a spark, burned a flame, because he was raised in a kibbutz, which was not connected to learning Torah. But inside of this child had the spark of fire for Torah, and arguably the spark of his grandfather as well. And that student came to Jerusalem and went to Merkaz Arav and started to learn under Rabbi Tzvi Yehuda, the son of Rabbi Cook. And he became higher and higher and higher in Torah. The love of the land converted to this complete love of Torah and the love of his fellow Jew. And he grew and grew, and he happened to be a Cohen, which is an innate love of the Jewish people from the Cohens. In fact, it's one of the halachas is when a Cohen goes up to the bima to bless the congregation, if he's not feeling love for everyone in the congregation, he's not allowed to make the blessing. He has to find that place of love for every Jew, everyone in the congregation. And so this Cohen decided, after he learned enough Torah, that it was time now to go out, and he wanted to create a place for people like himself, which became people from all over the world, from all different backgrounds, from all over the world, to come here and connect to God through the Torah. And this place is Machon Meir, and this is Rav Dov Bigon. And so now here you are, And here we are sitting, I'm going to open my eyes now, sitting in the study hall, the Beit Midrash. And we're connecting to this beautiful, incredible, unique history that's a living. History sometimes sounds like something that happened in the past, because what we're living is not really history, it's life. The center of life is going on right here, and here we are. We're so blessed and lucky to be sitting here and experiencing this. And as we're learning, as it were, with the Rebbe of Pirsesna, Rabbi Shapira, one of the teachings that he brought down, and you asked me earlier, David, what's this book about? And to a certain extent, it's how to teach ourselves. And one of the methods that the Rebbe uses is Hasidut. And so one of the ideas, the particular Hasidut of the Rebbe Shapira, is to experience the mitzvahs, to experience the Torah, not just on the level of our minds, as if we're learning a higher education, but to experience in the kishkis, which apparently is Yiddish for like our guts. To feel it in the guts. And we're going to talk more about that, and we'll actually learn a little bit about the anatomy of our soul. Because in Hebrew, there's more than one word for soul. And because of the soul, we learn about the different levels, and we're going to talk about that. So that was the introduction I wanted to give to get us into the spirit. So now let's go into I'm going to just discuss quickly. Last week, we brought the pasuk of King Solomon, Shlomo Melech, which was the premise we talked about last week, which was Hanoch lena'ar ar pi darko, gam ki zakin lo yasor menu. We want to teach the youth according to his personality, so that once he learns, he'll be attached to it, be part of him, he'll desire it. And so after he's under the roof of his father or the school, for his whole life, he's going to want to grow and grow and grow in the Avodat Hashem, in working for Hashem in every aspect of his life. And so we are that student. Okay, and so that's what we learned last week. And part of that is that it has to be always about accessing this inner place, this inner spirit that's within each one of us. So now how do we go about doing that? That's what we're going to learn more about today. How do we go about doing that in conjunction with understanding more about the soul? So let's go inside the book, and we're on page, for you guys, it's page... It's on page Tet. Yeah, at the bottom of the page. And I'm going to just be jumping around to different pasukim. And at first we'll do it together, and then at some point I'm just going to go where it'll be more smooth for us. So it says at the second to last line, Ki lo et ha-sechel shel ha-talmid belevad anu mechapsim ata rak et kol ha-talmid. It's not just the mind of the student that we're trying to seek and connect to, and connect from the mind to Hashem. Rak et kol ha-talmid, the entirety of the student. And every time you hear the word student, think of yourself. Because the Rebbe comes to teach us that we all have an obligation more than anything. No one has as much obligation as we do to ourselves to educate ourselves. And remember, education, we taught, was accessing that inner spark and inspiring ourselves to every act. Everything we're doing throughout our life should be passionate. It's an adventure, a passionate adventure, and a living passionate adventure. This thing we call connecting to Hashem, this thing we call being a Jew in this world. As I am repeating, so ki lo et sechel shel ha-talmid belevad anu mekapsim ata rak et kol ha-talmid, all of the student, et ha-nefesh, the nefesh, the ruach, ve'ha-neshama shel ha-yeled. These are three different elements of the soul we're going to discuss in a second. Ha-Yisraeli, from the Jewish child, anu mechapsim. This is what we're looking to do. The kashran be'elohei Israel, to connect him to the God of Israel. And again, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob is Israel. When we talk about Israel, talking about the spiritual collective. The God of Israel was the God of the whole world, the one God. So now, we mentioned these three different aspects of the soul. Have you guys learned a little bit about this? Okay, you familiar with this? Okay. So I'm sure you guys are doing Kabbalah at night stuff, so we'll do the review though, just for myself. So the first level is the Nefesh, which is the animating soul. That deals with like the action, the world of action. And then the Ruach is related to the speaking aspect. And so that deals with speech. And the Shema is the level of thought. So on each of these levels, we want to access them and utilize them. For example, when we pray, we rock. What's also a pasuk that we should, pray with every aspect. We should praise Him with every part of our body, but also when we're accessing, we're asking different elements of our soul. So with our mind, our kavanah, our intention, what we're thinking about when we're praying, and actually saying it, we want to hear our voice. We want to say it when we're speaking. When we're learning Torah, also we want to move, we want to speak, and we want to think. And we're accessing all those various elements of our soul. That whole, like the Rebbe said, we're looking to activate our whole body, our whole mind, and our speech, our ruach, and connect to Hashem. Okay. Now if we continue on to the page Yud, in the paragraph that starts with Hine, the last two lines of that paragraph. Ve'et hanarim asher lifneihem yeru lineshamot gedolot asher odan be'iban ve'aleihem letzmichan ve'lehafrichan. I'm an Abba. I'm going to translate it first. So it says, and the children that are before you, don't see them as just a actually see them as great giant souls that just aren't ripe yet, and you need to grow them and to help them flourish. So it's like the metaphor as a fruit. And so, like for example, at the beginning, a fruit, or especially the peel, it's bitter, it's not sweet, it's not tasty. You have to understand that inside the peel, which is the word klipa in Hebrew, resides this beautiful fruit. And so the beginning of a soul, a child, especially as a father, sometimes it can be quite frustrating. And you see your child and you look at them, or as a teacher, you see a classroom full of like children. You said that's a big mistake. When we look in the mirror, we look at our children, and we look at our fellow Jew, it's a mistake to see a child or someone losing their temper in the mall, or whatever it may be, someone cutting you off in traffic. Maybe it could be us cutting someone else off in traffic, but and it's a mistake just to look at that exterior element. You have to understand, you're looking at giant souls, giant nishamot. And so when we look in the mirror, we have to know who we are. By knowing who you are, that's the first step in trying to get there. Because knowing what your essential element is, it's in Hebrew you say, you want to take the energy and bring it, the word is fruition, to bring it, fruit, connecting to the idea of the fruit. We want to bring it to fruition. And so you have to know who you are, know who you're going to become. So it's a major principle that is going to be learning throughout this book. And if you keep going to the next paragraph, it starts with Ginan, and then I'm going to read the last sentence. Rak shetzrichim ladat ech lishamesh behem ulegdulam. You have to know the trick of how to bring it to fruition. So the Rebbe is going to say, not only do you have to know this, now you have to learn the skill set of how to do the job. So the Shiva, in a way, it's about learning, but it's also about how to bring it into action. We need not just to know what the right thing to do is, but how to actually inspire ourselves to do it. And so I'm going to jump over here. And, sorry. Okay. So now he brings an example. He brings an example of a student who is very, very, very stubborn. So now the teacher is looking out, and this kid is just stubborn. He doesn't do anything he's told to. He always wants to do it his way, and he's not listening to the instructions. Everyone else is following along. I'm writing on the board. Kids are taking down the notes. But this guy, no, I don't feel like writing. I feel like talking right now. I got a question. It's not time. You're interrupting me. I got in the middle of talking. He's very stubborn. And the teacher could be frustrated. Or the teacher could look ahead and imagine how when this student develops and turns his whatever childish nature may be ruling him into a desire to working for Hashem, desire to connecting to Hashem and going out into this world and serving his fellow Jew and serving the world, and how his stubbornness, his commitment is going to be such a valuable tool. He's going to be, he says, so he won't be wishy-washy. The Rebbe says, he won't be wishy-washy. He's going to be determined and focused. And that's a natural energy that's residing inside the child. And so the worst thing to do is to try and snuff it out. What we need to do is to learn how to develop it. And that's the idea of learning the personality of every child and how to develop it and see. The wise one sees what will come out of the current action or speech for the future. So developing it and learning how to nurture it and bring it to fruition is the concept. And so then he talks about even anger. He says, I'm not sure what this is for you guys, but I'll just read a little bit of the Hebrew. ואם יוכלים נשאה מראש את גדול התולת אשר יכול המנהל המנהנך להוציא מרעה כעס הכעסן. There is something about even anger, which I think some people, like I think the Rambam says, and other poets say that there's no place for it, anger. Here the Rebbe talks about that there's a conversion of it, that it comes from the heat. It comes from this heat in the heart. There's this fire, this passionate fire. It's kind of anger comes out of passion. Think about it. When someone's angry, it's because they really, at that moment, care about something. It may be completely inappropriate, completely wrong, and the way about expressing it could be horrible and destructive, like fire. Fire, without fire, we'd be in big trouble. Fire, in the old days, is how you would eat, heat. Everything was based on pure fire. The energy element, it's essential. That same energy can be used to light up a city, heat up the entire city's food, or it could destroy an entire city. So that's heat, that's fire. So the question then is, when that person gets older, that ikhpatiyut, the caring, the concern, that at the time is anger, that passion, can turn into the Gadol Ador, one of the leaders of the generation, because he's so on fire for everything. It's once he channels it and learns how to direct it to good, then it can be it's a superpower. So the question is then, as we're looking at ourselves and our character traits, maybe they're not in the appropriate place. We have to realize who we are, what we possess, because everyone's different. Everyone has their different innate superpowers, as it were. So the question then is, how do we tailor our training to bring them to fruition? Of course, there's certain things we want to lower, certain things we want to raise up. But at the same time, what we're really talking about here is spiritual judo. What's judo? And I don't know why it's called judo. It's a Japanese word, but it's got Jew in it. And I'm going to roll with that. So what's the whole idea of judo? My son does judo. And it's all about redirection. It's all about you take the energy of the enemy and then use it against them. And so when the guy's coming at him, you want to step and use leverage to topple them. But it's really them toppling themselves. You're just having to redirect it. So the same thing here. We want to take these energies, which are maybe utilized by the other side, because the world is based on, we talk about the Sitra Achra, the other side, the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. That is a force that was created to challenge us so we grow. But it's constantly challenging us, and it can drag us down. And we have to unite with our mind, with our learning, and energy and body to basically do judo, internal judo. I mean, Judaism is basically like a martial art, as it were, and we have to power it. And so I wanted to bring this example. I was doing research for a project, and there was a MMA champion that was talking, and I was surprised what they were saying. It was an interview, And they're saying about when they go into the ring that they're completely cool, calm, and in control, and they want to get the other side actually to lose control and like fired, angry, basically angry. And so the idea then is that we want to be, and I want to bring a quote from the Rebbe. He says in his spiritual journal that, okay, this is a spiritual journal that was buried under the Warsaw Ghetto, that was miraculously found, and that we're now learning exactly from it. So to me, it's amazing. He says, become the absolute and ultimate master of your inner world, so that it reacts not to external influence, but only to your deepest command. So this sounds like Jewish martial arts. We're learning the anatomy of our soul, and we know we have these energies boiling inside of us, that this other side, I kind of consider it sort of like it's kind of relevant to today, someone hijacking a ship. This hijacker comes in and tries to take over the ship. So this evil inclination tries to come and take our internal powers and use them against us. So then we have to do the exact same thing back and take those powers and redirect them for good. And so people talk about triggers, external triggers, right? This triggers, that triggers. And let's forget other people and the common use of the term. Let's just talk about it. For me, I'm going to be personal. Driving, traffic. It's like I can be in the Beit Midrash, the study hall, for like all morning, learning higher Torah, feel like an angel. I feel like an angel. Everything's great. I'm smiling, hugging everybody as I walk out the door. See you later, Sadiq. Yeah, Sadiq. I walk out the door. Hey, Sadiq. Walking down the street, get in my car. Literally 30 seconds later, it's like somebody like not letting me in. I'm like, no. Hey, I'm trying to get in. I got to get my kids, and you're not letting me in. What? And the next thing you know, I'm like, there's traffic, and there's someone in the... And so what happened? I was triggered. Okay, so at that moment, it sounds like a small thing. Like, okay, you got a little bit upset in your car. But like, it's not a small thing. It's not a small thing. And then let's go home. Then you come home, and it's like, okay, I'm in the yeshiva all day. I'm like an angel. And you get home, and all of a sudden, some kids, one of my children says to me something like, off the mark. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what? He's a big giant soul. It's like, it's the bitter klipa of the fruit. You're going to address the peel, or you're going to address the inner essence? What happens, And so these things, this like a martial art, if you ever see someone training for a martial art, it's not like one time you learn, okay, this is how you do it. Okay, I got it. It's day in, day out. And I hate to use this terminology because it shows how old I am, but wax on, wax off. I don't know if anyone knows what I'm talking about, but there was the movie called The Karate Kid, and the teacher was teaching him, well, I don't even remember what it was, like, I don't know, wax on, wax off, over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And so part of our mission is to take this learning, this knowledge, and access it and bring it down into our kishkis, which is thinking about it over and over, practicing it over and over, and taking this on as a major challenge. And that being said, I'm going to bring a story of the Rebbe on this point, and then I'll bring a personal story. Is that what we're talking about right now is how to capture ourselves from the enemy. The enemy wants to basically get us off track, get us disconnected from Hashem. And one of the major ways of doing that is disconnecting that from each other. As we were just discussing, you're just seeing each other as distant, as not united, as this neighbor's driving me crazy, or that, or this, and not thinking about the essential connection. And so he says in life that we can do these little things. And now we're going to talk about the mitzvahs in a second and how this relates to mitzvahs. But right now he's just going to talk about a simple act that for him was a big deal. I'm going to read the translation from his spiritual journal, from the Rebbe's spiritual journal. Now he's at they're bringing in a new Torah. And so there's dancing and singing. But what's dancing usually? People kind of like hand on shoulder on the hand, and moving around a little bit. It's not. And so he's already a Rebbe, and he's thinking to himself, I'm going to somersault. I'm going to do a somersault. This is what he says. No more did I imagine my simple somersault, but God's altar shone before me. I felt as if my blood was bubbling while my tears poured forth. It must be my sparks, my potential spiritual energy that were being expressed in reality. So he did the somersault, and he felt this incredible spiritual awakening. And then what happened? The evil side said, really? Really, Rebbe? You're a grown man. Okay, you did a somersault. Wow. Big deal. Like, yes, you get all excited about that? Really, what'd you say? You felt if your blood was bubbling and your tears poured forth. Your sparks with your potential energy that were being expressed in reality. Your nefesh and ruach and neshama, your soul is accessing the upper world and bringing down spiritual abundance to this world. Really? And the Rebbe said, really? He said, Yetzirah, I don't want to hear it. You're coming to try and topple this amazing thing I just did. And this is what the Rebbe says. Even the self-contrived service of the simplest Jew becomes hallowed, becomes highly sacred in that moment. We can't underestimate, we can't belittle everything that we do for the name of Hashem. And that's talking about something he just decided to do on his own. So now let's connect that to the mitzvahs. What's a mitzvah? I'm going to ask, what's a mitzvah? Who can define me what the mitzvah is?
It's a deed commanded by Hashem for human being to perform it.
100%. Mitzvah, go ahead.
It's also a kesher to Hashem.
Oh! The two of you together, I'm leaving. You guys can teach the class now. So that's exactly what I wanted to say. The traditional way that most people say it, which is from the word savui, command. But to say it's another word also from safta. Safta, which means connection. So it's both a command and a connection. So I think it's the Chovat Levavot and many other holy books speak about, we can't understand what Hashem is. Hashem is beyond all explanation. We're in a limited world. We're limited. And the essence of God is beyond all understanding, all explanation, all definition. What we can talk about a God is what God isn't. And to a certain extent what God is as manifest for us in this world. But the essence of God we don't know. So how can it be that this limited creation, us, can connect to the will of Hashem, this higher level of something that's without any type of limitation? And so the mitzvahs were created by Hashem for this connection. This is the connection between us. So these commandments are a connection between us and God. These commandments are supposed to us in the upper worlds. So the idea of the command, when we go in to do it, we have to understand what we're doing. And that takes it to a whole different level. So I want to just give an example of, we talked about last week, and we were saying about getting out of bed in the morning. Which is a constant struggle. If, observant Jew, you have a certain amount of time you have to get up to pray, according to the Jewish law. And then there's the regular minyan, getting the things on time. And then winter falls in. And look, the bigger the soul, the bigger the Yetzer Hara. Why? Because we have to have free choice. Free choice is based on balance. So if someone has a really hard time with things, they shouldn't be depressed. They should actually be very excited, because it just comes to teach you how big your soul is. So the bigger the hard time, the bigger the struggle, the bigger the soul. And so sometimes one of those challenges we're talking about is getting up in the morning. So let's readdress that issue from the point of view of the Rebbe and what we've learned so far. So you're in bed right now as we speak. We have our brothers on the front lines, literally right now fighting on the front lines. And so what's the connection between that and me getting up in the morning? Really? Like, once again, Yetzer Hara says, really? I get it. You're sacrificing your body, your well-being, your life. You're putting everything on the line. Your family's at home, and the enemy's in front of you. But what about getting out of the bed in the morning to go pray? Really? Well, listen to the soldiers. The soldiers tell us, your prayers, all the stuff you're doing, all the mitzvahs you're doing, all the learning you're doing, we feel it on the front lines. So they're saying this, and they're saying, what's the messages? They're telling us this. And the Rebbe's told us this. And Hashem has told us this. So now we're sitting in bed, and let's use our imagination like we did at the beginning of the shur. The imagination is a super, super powerful weapon. It can be used by the other side to trip us up big time, or we can use it to take something that could be seen mundane and turn it into the MMA championship of spirituality. So here I am in bed, and these enemies are pulling the sheet down on me. I can't move. There's 3 on 3. They're pulling the sheet. I can't move. And I'm getting up, and first thing I say, what do I say? I say, Modeh ani lefanecha melech hai, v'chem shechazarti b'shivati v'chem la'rabunatecha. Hashem, you gave me my soul. Ani, Modeh. I'm praising you. I'm thanking you for giving my soul back. My soul went up to Shemayim. Shalom Idan. I went up to Shemayim. Another Idan. Idan. We went up to Shemayim. And you have faith in me. Hashem has faith in me. This guy down here, he has faith in me. Yes. That's the first thing we say in the morning. So now here I am under the covers. They're pulling down. I can't move. I say, now go back again. It's very interesting. We don't say, in Hebrew, we say Modeh Ani. Not Ani Modeh, which is strange. We have a Hebrew speaker here. Is that weird?
That is weird.
It's weird. We have a Hebrew speaker saying it's weird. Why? So there's a learning in it. Everything has a learning in it. Every little nuance is learning. What's the learning? It's not I am praising. It's because when I praise, when I thank Hashem, that's really me. When I'm complaining, when I'm when I'm being lazy, which the Rebbe comes about, this is our main enemy. Main enemy. To do the wrong thing with fire is much less of an enemy than lack of passion, than lazy. This is the number one enemy of the soul of the Jewish people, is not caring and being lazy. And he talks about, actually, in this week's Parsha, in Esh Kodesh, that's a plug, Esh Kodesh, Sacred Fire. This is the English translation. But he brings about that issue that there's different elements, and the element comes from the ground. And so when one's lazy, you can't do the judo, the spiritual judo with it. You actually need to overwhelm it with simcha and joy and song to try and bring yourself out of it, and then you can work with it. So here we are in bed. Oh, go, Ida.
It's like Cain and Abel, right?
Go.
It's like Cain and Abel, one of them, I forget which one, right? He gave his offering of not the best one.
Yeah.
He said, it's whatever. Accept me as I am. I'm not going to try.
Cain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was lazy.
Yeah. Psst. Faye.
Yeah? Is
Faye.
that what we're talking about?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Shakoach. And Hevel was not. And we're going to be like Hevel. And so now we're in bed, and then we're going to say, wait a second, I got a job to do. And what I'm going to do right now has a massive impact on my brothers right now that are intense, that are on the front lines, that are under fire right now. I'm getting out of bed right now, and I'm going to burst out of the sheets. Now what happened? That's action. That's from my nefesh. So my nefesh now, and I united that with my mind and my nefesh, and I said Modeh Ani, that's with my ruach. All 3 elements of my soul are activated, full on war, bursting out of that bed through the front lines, and I've done a major. That's that somersault. Let's go back to the somersault of the Rebbe. Right then and there, there should be a crowd. I'm going to get to that in a second. There should be a crowd in my bedroom going, yeah! The whole world's in my bedroom going, great job, right? And then you take that, and you take that to your tefillah, take it to the mikveh, take it to your tefillah, and that's an example of accessing and using our knowledge and using action and combining it all to be a full-on warrior for Hashem, warrior for the Jewish people, and actually it's for the whole world, because it's all about, we're connecting the whole world. Hashem Echad, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. What's it mean? He's Hashem Elokeinu, the God of us, the God of the Jewish people. Hashem Echad, He's the God of the whole world. There's one God. So everything we do is uplifting the whole world. It's for the whole world. We are the what's it called? Mamlechet Kohanim. We're all Kohanim. The whole nation is, to a certain extent, Kohanim. Within the nation, there's different levels, but as it were, the whole nation, in a sense, is Kohanim. Service to Hashem and service to the world. We're connecting the two. We have a job to do. So now, let's talk about another example of this, which is a personal example. So I remember early days of becoming observant, and on a flight, and the minyan thing didn't work out, and there's no choice. I got to pray on the plane, and at first I was a bit daunted. Like the Rebbe said before he did his somersault, he was like, I was like, really? You're gonna do a somersault? I was like, I know it looks, right? I was still at the stage where I know this looks a little bit weird, like even the phylacteries, and wrap these black boxes on my arm, my head. I'm gonna stand up and put on my talit, and everyone's gonna be staring at me. And I was thinking how embarrassed it was gonna be, and I got up and did it, Baruch Hashem, and I felt as I started to do it, I remember feeling like the same sense where you're in a hard hike or a run and you feel that moment where you're going to stop and you don't stop and you keep going. That's how I felt. I felt like that moment of like breaking through a wall. And I stood up there, and then not only I draped myself in the talit, and the whole plane disappeared. There was no plane. It was just me and my tefillah, and this is before I learned anything about this, and I was just in the early stages, and I remember that. So now I want to connect that to what we just learned, and said, really, what should I be thinking? Even more so, especially when I learned on Shabbat the Maharal Shir, Rav Reuben Stone, and he brings the Maharal down, and he brings the inner essence of what's going on when we're wrapping tefillin. I know I only have the tools to start telling it, but everyone should learn the Maharal of Prague, about what tefillin are. Put that on the Maharal of Prague. I think it's in Gevurat Hashem, and about what the tefillin are. And there's like 3 or 4 different interpretations. Once you learn that, tefillin will never be the same again. But instead, I'm just going to tell a story of Rabbi Gon and then connect it to this as well. So Rabbi Gon, in teaching the Nefesh HaChaim here, right where I'm sitting, literally in this very place, which is exciting. He says Makom also has the spirituality goes into the place. So that's why study hall is more spirituality. It's a Beit Mikdash, Beit Mikdash Katan. It's like a small temple. And wherever you sit has spirituality. Wherever you learn has spirituality. In your home or your room, you should make a place. If that's where you do something, you should make the same place. And anyhow, back to the ranch. So Rabbi Gon was saying that he was a young man, also getting started in the game, and he was going to Rabbi Gon. So he was going to the Netz Minyan at Rav Kook's original shul down in the city, and so that's the Netz Minyan there, and he's there, and there's a guy who would always come, and he would put on his tefillin. But he wouldn't just put on his tefillin. It was like this whole process of like smiling and laughing, and he wasn't speaking, but dancing around. And Rabbi Gon thought to himself, he said in Hebrew, he said, Ben Adam is a Mishoneh. He's a bit weird, strange, it's different. So he asked somebody, Naito, what's with this guy? He said, he's from this Hasidic family, and it's a whole... And so then Rabbi Gon said, as he learned more and more and more, he understood that he was understanding the depth of what these were. He was feeling it with joy, and he was the excitement. So he was accessing his whole, like we said, we want to access the whole Jewish youth, not just the mind, teach someone frontally. We want to access the kishkis. And so that's what he was doing to himself every single time. He was doing the mitzvah tefillin, he was taking it to another level, because it was such a celebration. So, if the whole world knew, and if each one of us knew what it meant to wrap tefillin, what was going on spiritually, how was influencing the world. Like if you flew a plane full of food to a starving village, you'd feel accomplishment. You'd see the effect right in front of your face, and wow, maybe in the newspaper, wow, what an amazing thing. A Jew wrapping tefillin, no one's talking about it, no one's celebrating it. We're not seeing the effect. But if we know what's going on, and then access ourselves with it, use our imagination, the same imagination that can torture us, but we use it for good, it can take it to a whole nother level. And when we say a whole nother level, it's literally changing all the effects. Our soul goes to all the worlds, and then it comes back down and shefa to the world. So accessing this and bringing it to fruition is huge. So I'm thinking back to this airplane, under my talit, wrapping my tefillin. What should have been is that if everyone knew what was really going on, it'd be a standing ovation. The whole airplane would get up The pilot say, ladies and gentlemen, we got a Jew in section 12, seat B. Everyone, no, not get him, not get him, not get him. This should be, oh my goodness. Everyone, up, hands, clapping. Sir, this is a free wine on the house, and I checked the kashrut. I'm sorry, oh, that's good. That'll work for me. But that's reality. I think there's a song about that. Like either I forget there's a song. Like I forget the Hebrew song. There's a song, a popular song about that. If we knew what it meant, we'd be joyful. We'd be so happy. And so it's the knowledge. It's coming from below and from above. It's a multi. This war of ours. We have to learn, to know, to understand, like we're doing right now. But at the same time, when we do it, we have to access this joy, this excitement, and bring it to fruition. So now I want to add something to that. If you open the book, if you're learning the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, or the Shulchan Aruch, but the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, maybe more appropriate for this right now. But right at the beginning, it talks about the laws of getting up in the morning. Laws of getting up in the morning. And one of the things it brings there is a Mishnah from our sages. The Pirkei Avot, the advice of our sages. And the Mishnah goes like this: Yehuda ben Tema Omer Have Az Kenamer Vikar Kenesher Ratz Ketzvi Vigibur Keari La'asot Ratzon Avicha B'Shamayim. Be as bold as a leopard, light as an eagle, swift as a deer, and strong as a lion to do the will of your Father in heaven. Now each of these is about serving Hashem. So how does being as courageous and bold as a leopard serving Hashem? Anyone want to take a stab at it?
What's the first animal?
It's the leopard. To be bold and courageous.
If I remember it correct, you have to be like swift in going jump out of the bed.
It's 100%, and that's about the Ratz Kitzvi, like a deer, like run like a deer to do the mitzvahs, like run like a deer. The panther.
Remember just the eagle and the lion.
Fair. So the panther is.
It's like a bold.
Bold.
Like a
just so it's exactly the airplane. It's getting up and not feeling intimidated by society or things around you, and to be bold in serving God. To be bold, like Chabad, standing on street corners, and people be like, and you're like, hey, to fill in. Like, no, I'm good, thank you. But like, okay, next time I'll see you. Just this to be. I'm serving Hashem. It's amazing. It's excitement and bold, and not to be intimidated by society or what people say and everything like that, or by your own Yetzer Hara.
It feels like the statement. It's talking about something about like tapping into your animalistic part of you about trying to get up. I feel like for me, when I try to get up, my rational system is not online yet. Like there's no reasoning with the part of me that wants to stay in bed.
Fair.
You got to meet that animalistic part of you as an animal.
Fair.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, and I'm not an expert. I'm just thinking with you out loud. So we do know that within our soul there is different elements, and so there's the behemi element, that animalistic element, which is like the base nature. Yeah. Base nature is like, it says in the Maharal, talks about like all sin stems from our body, meaning like most anger comes from like I want something, my body wants something, you're not giving it to me, or pride, like things like that. But like our body emanates like these things. So in that regard, the body's the enemy. The body's like, don't want to move. I'm good. Cold outside, warm in bed, tired. Thank you. And then so like serving Hashem is like, you're right. It's from like the side of Tov, the side of the mind. So then the first thing we do is then we try and access that Yetzer Tov. Yeah. To access the Yetzer Tov and to bring down that, wait a second, I'm not just a body. I'm going to bring an example for you. That there's a Rabbi, Rav Sinai Adler, and he was a child in the Holocaust, and he became a rabbi, I think in Chovat maybe, and he learned across the way here in Nevetzer Tzion, and he learned my rabbi, Rabbi Krupnik. They learned together, and he wrote a book, and it's amazing. And he was actually in a place called I think after Mauthausen, they hiked to another place in Austria called I think Gunskirchen. And so what it was basically towards the end of the war. and it was a warehouse, and it was the people had just starving after 3-4 years, marched like 60 kilometers in the snow, and here they are, they're piled up. And I'm sorry to bring this so drastically, but they were like literally piled up, skin and bones. Some were dead, some alive. And here he is. I think he was 10 at the time, by himself, and he had like. And so what he did was, he pulled himself up from. There's like 3 layers of people stuffed in here, and he like pulled himself up over bones, some alive, some dead, and he got to the side of the barn or the warehouse, whatever it was, and he climbed up to like a rafter, and he laid on the rafter, and he said, "I am Selim Elokim." He said to himself, "I'm Selim." He was a child, but I'm Selim Elokim, meaning what do I see around me? Just death, destruction, just bodies, bones, flesh, hard flesh, like leather because dehydrated. And he said, "That's not me. I'm not my body. I'm Selim Elokim." Okay? I'm made in the image of Hashem. What does it mean, in the image of Hashem? This is not the image of Hashem. Image of Hashem is, I have a mind, I have a spirit, I can think, and no matter what happens, I have the ability to arise over anything that's trying to keep me down. The spirit, you can't stop. There can always be, the spirit can always overcome whatever's going on. It may be hard, almost impossible, but he was able to do it that moment. He said, "I'm not going to die because I'm not a body. I'm Selim Elokim." Now, that's maybe more extreme compared to getting out of bed in the morning. But if you're saying it's a battle of the body trying to take over, you tell the body, "Hey, body, good try, but I'm not a body. I'm Selim Elokim. I'm getting out of bed, and I'm going to do my job." And there's another thing we learn is, and I want to bring, so it's great that you raised that. I almost forgot to bring this point. Now, this is talking about tshuva, but I think it also applies. I mean, there is a maxim that Hashem helps us go in the way we want to go. I forget the exact pasuk, but there's a learning, and there's Hashem helps us go. So if you want to go in this way, it may be hard at first, and then you start going that way, and then Hashem's going to power you. And the opposite. If you want to go the wrong way, you also have energy to do that as well. So we have choice, free choice. The battle of free choice is in the heart. That's where the battle rages, in our heart. Is the place of free choice. So right now we're talking. It's we feel it, we experience it, but it's a paradigm for our whole lives. And right now we're talking. What about shalom bayit? We're talking about getting out of bed in the morning. What about shalom bayit? Like fight with someone's wife. The animal's going crazy. Where's the mind? We got to bring the mind into it. Calm the animal down. Anger, jealousy, ego. All these things are body oriented, body driven. We have our mind, logic, and our mind to access it, and there's also techniques also with our body to access our nefesh, going outside, doing the breather, things like that is also accessing our nefesh to bring that peace, that shalom. So that's same idea, but same thing, getting out of bed. Same thing, we're in the war right now of our body against our good side, our Yetzer Tov. And I think about it like a ship where a pirates come to try and take over the ship, and we're like the captain bound up in strings, and we have to like get out of the strings and knock out the pirate and take the wheel back over the ship. Which is everything we're saying is going on right now. Like the Houthis are trying to like take over the sea over here, and these guys are trying to come at us physically, but it's also all spiritual as well.
Mirrors the battle we have going on.
Exactly. In fact, the whole world is a mirror of the spiritual world. It's like a metaphor. The physical world is a metaphor of the spiritual world. And so, at that moment, if you have all these things in your mind and you litbonen otzeh, especially like when you're going to bed at night, you say the Shema in your mitah, saying tomorrow morning there's going to be a battle, and I'm coming ready. I'm not showing up to a gun battle with my bare hands. I'm gonna bring a gun. So what gun am I bringing? What's my neshek? We talked last class about making our own utility belt, our own specific weapons for this war. The Rebbe says that we have to create our own path within the framework of our forefathers, meaning we each have to use our imagination based on our experiences, on our talents, on our inner nature to make our special weapons for this fight. Because really, the Vilna Gra, the Gaon of Vilna, he said that all we're doing really is to change our character traits. What do we say? Change them, to perfect them, to improve them, to do this spiritual judo so they're all trained, pinpointed, right on point, special forces. Like we are special forces right now. If you think about how many Jews there are in the world, and then how many are studying Torah and trying to apply this to every day, and then how many are in a yeshiva like Machon Meir in Jerusalem, we're special forces. Doesn't mean like there aren't other special forces, not other great, but we're special forces. So we have to think about that when we're then facing getting out of the bed in the morning to go to play to tefillah. And this is just a precursor to what it means to be tefillah. Then we got to learn what tefillah is, to try and understand every word, to try and understand what it means to be standing in front of God. I learned this morning, like the two cherubim, there's two facing one the other. One represents Knesset Israel, the other represents the Kodesh Baruch Hu. They're facing each other. We want to be facing, when we're praying in the morning, we want to be like an angel. We want to be totally focused. Everything, all the other stuff outside of our heads, focus in on Hashem. So first we got to get out of bed like an aryeh. Like a lion. So we go back to our Mishnah, and this is where that I wanted to bring in that Mishnah. So about getting out of bed in the morning. So it says to be like bold, like as a lion, like strong and the valor of a lion. It says Gibor ki aryeh, to do the Ratzon of Hashem. Ratzon of Hashem, what's the will of Hashem for us at this moment in the bed? We're being held down by the enemy, our bodies, the enemy, physically visualize the enemy. Visualize 6 Hamasniks with their masks and their AK-47s on their backs, holding on the covers. Because if this Jew gets out of bed and gets to the tefillah, it's going to mean that they're going to be more stronger and more powerful against us on the field. So there's 6 imaginary Hamasniks holding down the sheet right now. And you literally got to burst out of there. So when it says valorous as a lion, it's talking dafka specifically about the heart. And the same Yehuda ben Taima, he also brought strengthen your heart to serve the Creator and overpower your evil inclination and defeat it as a hero trumps over his enemy. So the particular Mishnah that we brought about waking up in the morning, when it talks about the one who made the Mishnah, okay, the one who wrote the Mishnah says, when I said to you, be valorous like a lion, be bold as a lion, I'm talking about to overcome the evil inclination in your heart. And then our sages is brought down in our waking in the morning. Dafka, they brought that Mishnah specifically about getting up in the morning. So this thing that we're talking about is not something brand new for our generation. It's been going on for a long time. How to get out of bed. Because think about it, every start really kind of defines what's going to happen after that. So, Rosh Chodesh, how are you going to start the Chodesh and the Shavua Tov? And so getting up every morning and every day is a new creation. Every second's a new creation. We talked about that earlier. It's a new creation. So when we get up, how are we going to get up? It's going to influence the rest of our day. How are we going to be? And really, if you think about what's it say right there? Shaviti Hashem L'nei Tamid. King David said, always, everything I did, Hashem was in front of me. And so the first thing we get up in the morning, Modeh Ani, I am me because I'm praising Hashem. I'm going to get out of bed like a lion. What do the guys say on the field? We're fighting lions. Fighting lions. Where is the lion? The lion's in the heart. Right now I hear from people I know, and please God, that there's a level of like Yirat Shamayim in our soldiers where like the fear of man is like non-existent. It's just the fear of Hashem. When you fear the one, you fear no one. And so there's a level of like bitachon, of security in Hashem that's going on in the Am right now. And so we need to do our part, each one of us. And so wherever we are, that's our mission. Wherever we are, that's our mission. Right now our mission is here. And so we have to look at that as we're united. And that's another thing is, when we came down, we did a visualization at the beginning of going down to Egypt, a 70 united soul of the family of Jacob. Okay? And that unification connects. We're connected. We're one entity. We're connected. And so, for example, it's interesting in Israel, what's the common phrase someone says on the street when they don't know somebody, but they like want to say, hey? They say, Achi. Achi, 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 Achi. What do they say? Sadiq, Neshama. They say, my brother, righteous one, soul. And when I grew up in America, it'd be like sir or man. If it's informal, like hey man. If it's formal, like sir. But in Israel, it may be Ma'adon or something like that, but oftentimes it's like my brother, soul, Sadiq, Kapara, Kapalecha. So it's not just stam. It's not just nothing. It's like we learned what we said earlier. Like, what did the Rebbe teach us? I wrote it down. Where'd it go? He said, Even the self-contrived service of the simplest Jew becomes hallowed in the moment. As a nation, as a people, for some reason, our culture is that we call each other brother. That's not stam. There's something deep and real about that. And it translates into the battlefield and translates into the study hall. And we have to always keep that in mind. Whatever you're doing in your self-improvement, remember you're part of a united whole, a collective, and that everything's connected. And so when someone strengthens their arm, the whole body now has the access to that arm. We're all part of that. So when I strengthen, it's like a symphony. What's harmony in a symphony? Different parts, but everyone plays their part perfectly, as well as they can, and that creates harmony. So that's us. We're all playing our parts. Please God, we'll do as much as we can. And good. I think I can go on for another hour, but I think we're good. I wanted to keep in proportion. So I just want to close by saying, I just want to summarize the points so we can walk away with some concrete points. So that we learned today that there's a nefesh, there's a ruach, there's a neshama, and our goal to educate ourselves is to access all of these via our mind and via our action. Use our imagination as a weapon for good, and that every little thing we do is not contrived, but has major implications, and especially kal v'chomer, all the more so the mitzvahs, the commandments, which are also connections, as Zechariah told us. So we're connecting to Hashem, which brings shefa to the whole world. We're connecting to each other. And so on that note, I want to say, may we be blessed to increase our ayin tova, our good eye, with the trait of Avraham Avinu, to judge each other favorably. And then we can then strengthen our unity, and by our unity, bring full redemption with mercy, berachmana, Mashiach Tzidkenu berachmana, speedily in our days. Thank you. Shakar.